Well, before this trip, Shenzhen was a city I'd never heard of. And I have to say it's quite surprising to stumble upon a city bigger than New York City, where I live. And our first stop was a container port in Shenzhen. And the size and scope and scale of this container port, to learn that they ship 70 million containers a year, these are 20-foot containers, out of this port, gives you some idea of just the enormous scope of this. Driving through Shenzhen, it's just one 40-story tower after another, and they build these things like 8 at a time, identical. It's just jaw-dropping to go through the city that just seems to never end with this giant construction. And the Shenzhen Stock Exchange was our next stop. That was an impressive stop, and it's the equivalent of the NASDAQ on the USA market. It's a small cap stock exchange with about, I think they said 941 companies listed on this stock exchange. And it's the average PE now, they said on the stock exchange, is trading at about 40. I recall one statistic is that their average revenue of each company grew 28% in the first 6 months of 2007 over 2006. And if you look at the annual growth, I remember that they said it was only a 19% annual growth of 2006 over 2005. So the rate of growth is accelerating on this exchange, and that helped just kind of give color to what we were seeing as we drove through Shenzhen. Following that, we met with one of the companies recommended by Jim Tripone in the China Stock Digest, and it adds something when you actually go into a company. You get to meet with the executives. You get a presentation of the technology that they're demonstrating. You get a good Q&A session to follow up with questions. You get business cards to email later for any questions. And I woke up last night and, hey, I went online and bought some of the stock.
Great.
So that's my impression of Shenzhen. I am still digesting and taking it in. And the hotel we stayed in, I thought, is as nice a hotel as any I've stayed in, and I've stayed in some pretty nice hotels all over the world.